I chose the Old Testament lesson for a couple reasons, because it's the foundation of our faith, Ten Commandments. But it's also a time when people were on a journey. And Pastor Mike told us 2 weeks ago that we are also on our Lenten journey. Our entire lives are a journey of some kind. So I would ask you, what do you expect out of your life? Would you like a good job, a good paycheck, a nice retirement, a nice car, a nice home? Those are some of the things that we attach to in our secular lives. Do you want your church to better serve the community? Do you want peace on earth? And if we look at our world right now, that's certainly something we would all want to pray for. Our world is in a mess, no matter where we look. And if we had the time, we could create quite a wish list of things that we would expect out of our lives. But sometimes our wants and our desires, our expectations for life, interfere with our faith journeys. And I think that's what Lent is for. To help us push the noise away. Help us look within. Look to an attitude of penitence and prayer and reflection on our lives and how we could maybe strengthen our faith. And when you came here this afternoon, you knew what to expect. There would be a warm, inviting building. There would be prayers, there would be hymns, there would be a message of some kind. There would be a time maybe when you could just sit for a moment with God in peace and quiet from the world outside. You see, we have expectations even when it comes to our time of worship. I believe we come to church, come to worship, no matter where or when that is, to enter into a conversation with God. And then when we leave, take God with us. You see, it's not just in this building or any church service, any church building. We take God with us when we go. I think God's expectations for us is that we be the best we can be. I firmly believe that, which is why He gave us the Ten Commandments to follow. You can find examples of God's expectations just about everywhere in the Bible. If we look at Adam, what was his expectation from God? Don't eat from the tree in the center of the garden. Didn't work out very well for him and for Eve. And again, the Ten Commandments are given to us for a reason. They're given to us through Moses, and they're not called the 10 Suggestions. They're commandments. They're God's expectations for us. How to live our lives on their journey to the promised land. This is what you need to do. And we know that didn't work out very well either, did it? The Ten Commandments are straightforward. I read them to you, and you can clearly hear what they tell us. But people still get confused. What do you mean I can't do this? What do you mean I can't do that? Well, it's what God asks of us. In plain language, I want to share a few of those with you. Do not judge. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth. Don't worry. Love your enemies. Well, that's a hard one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. How much more straightforward could you get? And then the other one that's most important too, love your neighbor as yourself. We know the golden rule. Do we live the golden rule? Let your light shine before man, that they see your good deeds and praise your God in heaven. We are to be examples of Christ. We are to be examples for others to see what God can do in our lives. Do not love the world or anything in the world. Do not let anyone lead you astray. easy to understand, easy to read, but hard to live. And I think our Lenten journey allows us again to look within to see things we need to modify, to change, make better. You see, God expects us to know God. And we all do that differently. We need to know what God's will is for our lives and to experience God's power in our lives. And after we come to know God, God expects us to grow. A little boy constantly fell out of bed at night. No matter what his parents did, he continued to roll out onto the floor. And his parents talked to him one day and asked him why he thought he kept falling out of bed. And the little fella thought for a while, and he pondered on why it was happening, and he said, I don't know. Maybe it's because I stay too close to the place where I get in. Think about that. Maybe it's because I stay too close to the place I get in. Again, God expects us to grow from the place we get into our faith journey as we travel along. Do we stay close to where we get in, or do we make an effort to understand God at a better level? We need to move past where we get in, no matter how old we are when that happens. You see, some people see the Bible as a rule book, obeying the thou shalt nots and thou shalls. But you see, the Bible is more than that. Some people feel that God expects too much from them when they read all of that and try to understand it. To read the Bible in that way and to understand the Ten Commandments in that way allows us to be what I call misguided. And just because children sometimes fail to meet the expectations of their parents, we often fail to meet God's expectations as well because we try to read into the Bible what we think it means to suit our own lives. The 40 days of Lent, as I said, are a time for self-reflection, a time for self-examination, a time for looking within our hearts and souls to know exactly how we're meeting God's expectations for us. Sometimes we don't like what we see, and that's where the change needs to come. These 40 days are a time when we can push the noise away, get away from all the busyness that we find ourselves caught up in, and place God in the forefront of all that we do. So let me ask you again, what do you want to do with your life? Where are you on your faith journey? Are you ready to keep trying, to keep striving to reach the expectations that you know in your hearts God has for you? Because just as parents give their children encouragement, God also gives us the encouragement that we need. Amen.
Amen.